Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instruction on completing the task at hand. Visit my YouTube channel and watch my disclaimer video. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you find the information you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. In this video, I'm going to try to figure out what's going wrong with this Jaguar XJ8 anti-lock braking system. It's got a ABS light on one part of the dash, and it has a warning that's flashing that says the tracks is unavailable and a ASC or something else is unavailable. So there's the ABS light there and the tachometer, and there's the other warnings there with the ASC not available and the tracks not available. Of course, you can cycle your clear button here to clear those buttons and get back to your normal settings, but that system is a very good system to have working, especially if you drive in wet or snowy climate. Now I'm going to ramble on a little bit here. I'm not sure how accurate this information is, but it's the way I understand the ABS system to work. When you're traveling at speeds above 25 miles an hour, in some cars it's a little faster, but the ABS system is designed to help you avoid having wheel lockup while you're driving down the road. If you're driving down the road and something darts out in front of you, or you have the need to hit the brakes kind of hard, especially on wet, slippery, snowy surfaces, wheels that are not locked up will allow you to continue to control a car and slow the car down faster than it would as if the wheels locked up and you went into a spin or a skid. Now there's several components in your braking system. You got your pedal, which moves your brake booster normally. Your brake booster channels fluids to your brake calipers, and most of the cars that have ABS have disc brakes on all 4 locations. However, in the ABS equipped cars, the cars are also equipped with an ABS module and a controller which senses wheel lockup, because they have sensors at each wheel location. Now, how these ABS sensors send their signal to the ABS module is by magnetic pulses. And here is a axle, CV axle, with the nubs on it. And as these nubs run close to the ABS sensor, they'll create a magnetic pulse against the sensor. Here's the sensor, and as you can see, it has 3 little metal strips in it there that help it pick up these passages as it goes past those little studs. So when it senses that this is no longer moving, it'll send a signal to the module up there to stop any brake pressure going to that caliper at certain speeds so it doesn't lock up. So this is what a sensor looks like, and you have these rib things on axles or on the wheel hubs if the car is not driven by that wheel. Like rear wheel drive cars will have a rib thing on the front hubs to give it these pulses, vice versa on the front wheel drive cars. Now, from what I've read on these Jaguars, the most common problem is wheel sensor getting dirty and gummed up in between the sensor and what the sensor takes its reading on. So in troubleshooting this problem, I'm going to clean the wheel sensors first. Now occasionally, or about another half the time, you'll have bad ABS modules in these cars that are in excess of 10 years. Some people take those modules apart and resolder connections in there and get them fixed that way, or they replace the module, or they send the module out to be rebuilt. At any rate, I'm going to start troubleshooting this one by cleaning the sensors and see if that works. This is what I use to clean the ABS sensors on this Jaguar, and it'll probably be the same for most cars. I use an 8mm ratchet, either 3/8 inch or 1/4 inch drive, put a little Loctite on the screws, a soft wire brush, or you could use some other kind of plastic brush, some electrical contact grease for plugging the wires back in, or use petroleum jelly. And I use a pair of ramps because you could reach all of these sensors with the car on ramps. You don't have to take any wheels off. If you want to take the wheels off, you can. That way you could check some other things and look at the wires, where they go. And I also included that in the video as well. Okay, I put the car up on ramps, and I'm going to see if I can access these sensors while the car is on ramps instead of pulling the wheel off. And sure enough, that's the sensor right there. So that looked like I have to pull the front tires off. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that sensor and clean it off and put it back on. When you're removing and installing these ABS sensor screws, be careful not to strip the heads of the bolts. They seem pretty soft and a little rusted, like they'll strip. As I said, you could clean these off with a hard plastic brush or a hard toothbrush. I ended up using a soft metal brass brush to cleaning it off because I didn't want to wet it with any kind of cleaning agent. And that's some Vaseline I put in there to seal off the plug outlet when I put them back together. I suggest you use lightweight or medium weight at the most Loctite when you put those screws back in. And there's a good view of an ABS sensor with the wheel hub sprocket that brushes right past and almost against the ABS sensor. And you want to check the wires that's coming off of it. Make sure you don't have any wiring issue where the wires are rubbing something or cracked or broken or anything like that, and it's plugged in real good. Okay, at the rear tires, it's also possible to do this with the car on ramps. You come down under the car and you look on the inside of the wheel, and from the back, right on top of this assembly is the ABS sensor. So you pull that screw right there, unplug it, lift it up out of that wheel assembly, and you can do this job on wheel ramps and not have to remove a tire. So it's probably a job that can be done all in all in 30 minutes if you don't have to pull any tires. Access the tools to jack the car up and get that wheel off so I can look at and check the sensor. So I pull the panel off, and all your tools to pull the wheel off and jack the car up should be under here. Now you never ever want to get under a car with the manufacturer supplied jack, so I also put a jack stand under it to keep it stable and safe. Okay, so I access all the tools to jack the car up. Now I'm going to put something in front of and behind the opposite tire of the car to help prevent the car from rolling. I'm also going to set the parking brake nice and tight. This car comes in with this wheel stop, so I'm going to put this behind the passenger side rear tire, and I'm going to put a brick or something in front of that same tire, and I'm going to jack up the driver's side front tire. Okay, I have that wheel blocked, I have that parking brake pulled up tight and set. Now I'm going to find the jacking point on this car, which is right there. If you're not 100% sure of the jacking point on the car you're going to be working on, look in the owner's manual to find it out, because if you jack the car up in the wrong place, you could damage something under the car and possibly have the car fall on you. You also want to make sure you're on a flat, smooth surface when jacking the car. You don't want to be on gravel or lawn or nothing like that. Okay, I pulled the dust cap out of the jacking point. I slid the jack all the way in the jacking point, and wouldn't you know it, they even recommend that you not get under the car to do anything with this jack install. So now I'm going to take a little bit of pressure off the wheel, jack the car up a little bit, but I'm not going to jack it up high enough to get the wheel off the ground, just take a little weight off of it. After I do that, I'm going to break my lug nuts loose because I want the wheel to be on the ground when I break those nuts loose. Here's the tool supplied to remove the wheel lug nuts. It has a little telescope, and it says when you're removing the nuts, telescope it. When you're tightening them, don't. I guess they got a theory behind that, because as you can see, this one is bent, and it's common for these lug nut tools to remove the lug nuts on the wheels not to be adequate when it comes to removing and tightening it. So you need to check these on a car when you get them, so that you're not stuck out there and can't get your lug nuts removed. And for that reason, I often keep a triple lug nut tool or a T lug nut tool in the car as a good spare, and it also helps me help others when I find people stuck on the road can't get their lug nuts off. So I'm gonna go ahead and break the lug nuts loose. I'm not taking them off. Then I'm gonna jack the car up, put the jack stand under it, then take the lug nuts the rest of the way off, take the wheel off, put the jack stand in place, lower the car on the jack stand, then proceed. Due to the fact that I'm going to be working under this car, I jacked it up as far as necessary to get a jack stand under there. So I positioned the jack stand under the car, and then I lowered the car from the jack onto the jack stand so that the jack stand is supporting most of the weight on the car. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove those lug nuts and get that wheel off. Okay, I jacked it up so the wheel is off the ground. I don't get it too high, maybe about 5 cranks past up. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the lug nuts off the wheel and remove the wheel. Once all the lugs is off, you want to bump the wheel at the top, and that should break it free from the hub. Now it's broke free, you can go ahead and pull it off the car. Okay, now that you got your wheel off, you could take a look at your brakes and stuff like that. See if any of that stuff needs to be replaced. See what kind of condition your suspension is in. But you also need to find your wheel sensor. And on this car, it appears that the wheel sensor is right here on the front. So you may be able to get to that sensor by putting this car on jack stands and not having to pull a wheel. But you can go ahead and pull the plug on the wheel sensor. Be careful not to break it. Then it looks like you have a small bolt there, maybe an 8mm, to pull the sensor off. So let me go ahead and remove that sensor. That was an 8mm bolt, and as you can see, it has some Loctite on it. And this is the ABS sensor. Be gentle when pulling it off, you don't want to break it. And as you can see, it has some magnetic or metal things that stick out of it. From my understanding, these things run by a magnetic pulse. Now when you look in the hole that the sensor was in, you see that gear thing there, and that's part of the wheel assembly, and that of course turns around when you're driving, and it lets the car know that this wheel is in motion and it's not locked up. Now when you're rolling along and it's getting this magnetic pulses, it'll let the ABS module know that that wheel's turning and not locked up. Now when you get a bunch of dirt gummed up in these sensors or on the sensors, it may interfere with the magnetic pulse that it gets and may throw an error code. So in an attempt to get rid of that, I'm going to brush this off and make sure that hole is clear, which it looks like it is, and I'm going to put that back on, and I'm going to do that on every wheel location. Now I recommend that you're a little gentle with that, so use a real hard toothbrush or real hard plastic brush. Then I'm going to put some Loctite on that screw and put that back in. Okay, now that I got my sensor plugged back in and the bolt in and secure, I just tightened it down, you know, just snugged it down a little bit. I don't know, 10 foot-pounds probably enough on that screw, maybe 12. And I put a little Vaseline on that connection so that no water or nothing gets in there to cause that thing to corrode in there. So now I'm ready to put my wheel back on. Now I'm ready to put the wheel back on and put the lug nuts on it. Now what I normally do in this case is, if I got lug nuts that do not have washers like this one does, I put some anti-seize along the surface of the lug nut that makes contact with the wheel. Not on the threads, but on the part of the lug nut that contacts the wheels, so that those bolts don't get stuck on the wheels. I've seen them where I couldn't get the lug nuts loose. I had to get help for somebody to break the lug nuts loose. And you don't want to be somewhere, get a flat tire, and can't get your wheel off. So go ahead, roll your wheel in place. If you need to put a little anti-seize on the part of the lug nuts that contact the wheel, do that. Then you want to finger tighten these nuts on, and then just snug them down with your tool. Crazy enough, I've even seen times where somebody had their lug nuts off and couldn't get their wheel off, because this surface of the wheel and inside there was stuck to the hub. So you may even want to spread some anti-seize compound around here and around those pieces that grab hold to the wheel, so that don't get corroded and stuck to the hub as well. Okay, I got all the lug nuts in place and snug down a little. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to lower the car down and put some weight on the wheel, and then I'm going to tighten the lug nuts. You don't want to be wrestling around and trying to tighten the lug nuts with the wheel off the ground. It's just not going to happen. So if you got a jack stand under there, you want to jack it up, remove the jack stand, then lower it. If not, just lower it until you put a lot of pressure on that wheel. It don't have to be all the way down. Then you want to tighten your lug nuts to the torque specifications in the manual. Most are close to 80 foot-pounds. Now when you tighten your lug nuts, you're supposed to go in a cross pattern. So you tighten this one, then go across 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 that one in the star pattern. It helps you prevent from warping your rotors. So let me go ahead, lower the car, put some weight on the tires so I can torque it down. Okay, now that I got this wheel back on, lug nuts tightened, I'm going to pull this jack from under the car. Then I'm going to move my wheels chocks on the opposite side and do the other front wheel. Then just go from wheel to wheel until you get all 4 of those sensors cleaned up. Then the system will test and check itself out. Go ahead and take it for a test drive and see if it clears the problem. Alright, now that I got all the sensors cleaned off as part of my troubleshooting, I need to drive the car. Sometimes this ABS system will clear the air faults, and once it gets up to 30-40 miles an hour, sometimes it'll need a few miles under the belt before it clears that error code. So I would say drive the car 100 miles before you do anything else, and if that doesn't do it, then you have to decide whether or not you want to take the car to a professional and have it scanned for error codes to see what they say is wrong with it, or if you want to start replacing parts or rebuilding that ABS module. Now to rebuild that ABS module, what you need to do is locate it. You remove it from the ABS controller valve, and it's got these little funny reverse torques on it. You crack it open and you look inside for solder joints and re-swell the solder joints. But as I said, I'm going to test drive it for 50 to 100 miles to see if my ABS light's clear before I go cracking that module open. But in most cases, you either have a bad module, dirty sensors, or a bad sensor, and then you get into wiring issues. But like I said, you can start cheap and easy by cleaning the sensors off. Then you can get it scanned or rebuild that module. Thanks for watching. If you feel that this information was beneficial, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can also subscribe to my channel so that you can get notification of future videos that I post. Visit my channel. I have all types of do-it-yourself videos there. You can leave questions here and I'll try to respond to them as quick as possible. You can also visit my website at robertspinner.com. Thanks again for watching.